live stream was not working, so I'm going to test and see. But welcome to HBRV Lifestyle, the podcast. We are live here on YouTube. I'm going to try this again because crap, everybody told me they couldn't hear me. So we're going to see if I can hear me now. Can't tell if you hear me or not. Can you guys hear me? All right, we can hear me. Okay, perfect. All right. So today we're going to talk about probably something that is both scary to a lot of people, but also very exciting. And that thing is the Honda base station prototype. So Honda released a prototype of a teardrop travel trailer. And I'm going to try to see if I can find the guy's name real quick. But there is a gentleman who did a really good job covering this. And he covers a bunch of teardrop travel trailer stuff. So he does a really great job. Basically talking about different like DIY projects or how to build a teardrop or what the perfect teardrop is. I'm trying to find the guy right now. And there he goes, Playing with Sticks. Playing with Sticks did a great job. He's the best guy on this actual subject because I actually decided I would call a family friend of mine who works at Honda. Doesn't work at a Honda dealership, works for actual Honda. And we've been family friends for, well, since I was in diapers pretty much. So that's what, 40 years plus? And I'm not going to tell you if it's a guy or a gal. I'm not going to tell you their name. I'm not going to tell you what division they work in. But I will say that we always have talks about power sports stuff because that has to do with a lot with the toy hauler industry. We talk a lot about Honda Ridgeline and what's coming out. So I always kind of know what's coming out with Honda all the time, usually a year or two prior, 3 years prior. But I really don't ask about stuff like this because I didn't even know it really existed. In fact, the only reason why I found out this existed, hi Paula Stewart, the only thing that I found out about this product, or the only reason I found out about this product, was because a lot of you emailed me and were like, hey, what's your opinion about this? And I'm like, what? Honda's not doing anything. So I actually started doing some of my own research on it, and there's not a lot of info out there, guys. In fact, Playing with Sticks did the best job on covering this prototype. So if you want to kind of see that video, you should actually search for it. When I'm done with the live stream, I will link it in the description box below so you guys can watch it later. He does absolute fabulous job covering it. But Honda, when you go in and call, or if you try to talk to someone that you're not friends with or you're not close with, they have a lot of scripted answers. And a lot of it is a prototype. But a lot of it also is that I have my gut feeling is they're not working. They're either working with a secret OEM partner or they're working on developing some of this technology on their own. So I took a lot of what Playing with Sticks questions were, because he had some great questions, and I asked my family friend about it. And so I made some notes. I'm going to read them. Okay. So the first question I had actually didn't have to do with Playing with Sticks. It had to do with something I read on the website. So when I read on Honda's website, because they don't have a lot of info. When I read on Honda's website, it says, how is the Honda base station prototype powered? It says the Honda base station prototype is equipped with a lithium battery system, inverter, and solar panels on board, all easily managed through the base station app or onboard interior display. Easy connectivity to campsite power or a Honda generator means maximum freedom for your adventures. Now that threw a red flag in my head. I'm like, they didn't just say generator, they said Honda generator. When you look at a lot of other teardrop companies, they say shore power or a onboard generator or a portable generator. They don't use specific brand names. Now I know Honda is trying to promote Honda, but I decided to ask a question. And here was the question I asked, and it started into other ones. So the first question I asked and I wrote down was, hey, it mentions a generator on there. Are you guys planning on, do you think they're planning on putting a Honda generator on the trailer as an option? And the answer was, well, yes, that's the overall goal. The overall goal is not to put 5 or 6 batteries in this thing. It's to have one battery system with a secondary charging and power system that you can just plug into. Now, when I asked, well, what size generator? Well, that's still being discussed. So I at least got that there. So basically, it makes sense too. So when I thought about it after the conversation, I went, that makes sense. It makes sense for them to put the Honda generator on board this travel trailer because a lot of electric car companies like Ford are scrapping what they're doing now and developing technology for a gasoline powered generation to keep the batteries charged for the electric motors to increase efficiency of the batteries and lengthen the amount of distance you're going to go. So it only makes sense to put, let's say, a 300 amp hour battery, lithium, with a generator charging system with solar to go out in the middle of nowhere and do overland camping. It only makes sense. And then that led me into, okay, and this was a great question by picking, sorry, I keep screwing up his channel name, Playing with Sticks. He had a great question about air conditioning and heating. Yeah, I watched the whole video to get to that question. So I asked him, I said, well, that makes sense because the reality is if you guys put, let's say, a small splitter air conditioner or a fan or an electric heating system in there, then you got to have the ability to run it and try to keep the battery from getting killed. But I said, how are you going to solve that? Because let's say you put a 2,000 watt Honda generator on board, how are you going to run an air conditioner, an induction cooktop, a fan, and all that stuff on a battery? And this was the answer. The goal is, and that again, didn't answer directly, but said to me, hey, at the end of the day, the goal is not to increase the amount of batteries on the trailer or the battery's capacity. The goal is to make all those appliances more energy efficient where you don't need to have more power and more batteries. That was interesting. So what you're basically saying out loud to me is, or what that means to me is that induction cooktop they're putting for the outside kitchen, the possibility of them adding a furnace and an air conditioner option basically is not to put more weight and more battery weight in the trailer, but to keep one battery that's sufficient for the entire trailer to operate everything, a generator as a backup, solar as a primary charging, but also make those appliances energy efficient where they don't drain the battery as quickly or as inefficiently. And I'm like, and I get just asked, like, oh, well, if that's really what's going on, then, you know, obviously you guys are working with somebody in the RV industry to develop those products for you. And the answer to that was, well, you know, right now we're looking at every possibility. So you're looking at every possibility that tells me that you're not working with anybody. You guys are actually working internally. You're not working with Lippert. You're not working with BAL. You're not working with anybody right now. You guys are trying to develop these things internally. That's what I got out of that conversation. Doesn't mean I'm right, but that's what I got out of that conversation. And remember, I've known I've known this person, their spouse, and their kids for 40 plus years. I grew up with their kids. Went to the same high school, went to the same junior high school. One of the kids I went to the same college with. So they have no reason to lie, but at the same time, I want to protect them because I don't want them getting fired from a job, or I don't want her to get fired from her job. So, but at the same time, and what he or she said to me was very interesting. They said, there's a script that we are given to answer these questions because this is still very much in development. And he or she also told me, do realize that if we don't create an energy efficient appliance like an air conditioner that's going to make us not have to add more weight and more batteries to the trailer, then we're not going to add it as an option. Now that makes sense because a lot of teardrop travel trailers do not have AC. They usually have a fan or screens, and generally a lot of folks are not going to need a air conditioner in most of the places you're going to take those little teardrop travel trailers. The electric furnace, probably a better idea because it's a little better than having to use propane. So the ultimate goal behind this travel trailer is to eliminate any need of propane and any need of basically, the end of the day, it's eliminate the need for propane. Try to create an electric water heater, an electric furnace, stuff that runs energy efficient. That's the goal. That's what I got out of it, at least. I went down a rabbit hole that just trying to make small talk. Like I asked about satellite internet. Are you guys going to partner with Skylink? Are you guys going to use your own? And the big one that I had was, when I looked at the prototype, I even told him, I told him, hey, look, I saw the Playing with Sticks video, and it looked like you guys have a very simple setup when it comes to the axles and the suspension and the tires. Are you going to eventually come up with something that, is going to be more off-road capable? And I got kind of a weird answer. That's something that probably they will look at in the future as we get closer to production. And I go, what are you guys, and I just asked, what are you guys up to, man? Are you guys trying to disrupt everything? Or do you think they're just trying to disrupt the camping industry? And he or she said, no, they're trying. So the goal, I guess, whoever was internally starting this, they're starting to see a trend of the car and truck industry are going alternative energy. You're not seeing as many full-blown big engine cars and big engine SUVs being sold daily. A lot of hybrids, a lot of electric vehicles, a lot of alternative energy vehicles. And they felt that nobody's really building a camper that is efficient enough and good enough to basically they see a big gap in the marketplace, and they're trying to fill that gap. Is basically what they're doing. So then I saw this thing online. Now, Playing with Sticks didn't really cover this part, but he had good questions about storage, and I thought this was cool. So I want to throw this out there for you guys. I'm going to read this off the website, and then I'm going to ask to tell you what the kitchen was. So or what my question was. It says, how much room does the Honda base station prototype have inside? It says, unlike conventional trailers, the Honda base station prototype features a spacious, bright interior, pop-up standing and changing space with a queen-size sleeping area. The 5 standard window modules can be swapped for optional features like a kitchen, aircon, or shower, all while maintaining a compact size for easy garageable storage. So, down here, I asked, what did all the outdoor window modulars mean? Does that mean that this thing will have a bathroom and, let's say, extra storage? And she said, there is development being done to add options where you don't have to have all the windows. You could actually technically have 0 windows in that trailer and have whatever the 5 options are: cooking, bathroom, storage, things of that nature. So you could come out, let's say they had, you could, one of those windows could be a heat pump type of thing, or a furnace or air conditioner furnace type combo, is what I got out of it. It wasn't said verbally, but that's kind of what I got out of it. You could probably add 2 exterior storage boxes, like as pantry and clothing storage and things of that nature. So from what I understand from his or her answer to that question is basically you would either not have any windows and have all 5 of these things done through a option of whatever module you want, or a combination of them. And it makes sense because when you read their price point on their website, the website says the price point's between $20,000 and $40,000. So it makes sense that Honda would do this. Okay. So then I asked one other question, and that question is, will there be a development for instead of the pop top going up, would there be a development for a rooftop tent option? And there was basically no answer to that. It was more like, I'm not sure. Again, remember, this is a prototype. They're still probably 2 years out from actually putting this to production and having a real actual demo put out there. Okay. But I will tell you that it scares the crap out of me a little bit. I'm going to page 2 of my notes here, because then I had more questions. And these questions were more or less not factual information, but what if questions. And she was actually we always have good conversations about financing. So one of the questions I had is, do you think that this will only be sold at Honda retail locations, or do you think that they will allow RV dealerships to sell it? And the answer was, more than likely the concept would be to have it only sold at Honda retail locations. So not just dealerships, but any authorized Honda retail location. As you know, Honda also sells power sports. They sell generators. They sell the Honda Talon as an example. So what they're looking at is Honda retail locations, which means they would probably go, from what that conversation, the answer, and there was a little deeper answer than that, but to simplify it, if you're in the Las Vegas market, and let's say you have ABC Honda that sells all their cars and trucks, but you got XYZ Honda Power Sports down the road in North Vegas, they might offer to both of those locations first before they look outwardly. And so I asked, well, does that because Honda will offer Honda in-house financing on that trailer? And the answer was more than likely. It's not definitive, it's not guaranteed, but more than likely Honda's financing company would actually pick up the loans on those trailers like they do a lot of their power sports and cars. Now, I didn't go deeper than that in the financing part because that's more my territory. And what I would say is, and the rest, by the way, before I go deeper into this, the rest of the conversation was just nitpicky stuff about, tires and ratings. And I threw my 2 cents in about, hey, maybe you should tell them that they should do this or do that, which they're not going to do because they got their own little thing going. Yeah, there you go, Christy. Yep, they are awesome. But as far as as far as Honda's finance company, if I were a teardrop company that is not named Modern Buggy, I would be shitting my pants right now if I actually, if this is, even if they accomplish 75% of what my family friend and I talked about, you're talking about the end of independent teardrop companies. Because if Honda is developing these energy efficient appliances to run off 1, 2, or 300 amp hour battery, a small solar setup with a small inverter, and a small Honda generator backup charging station or system, no teardrop manufacturer will be safe outside of Modern Buggy. If they are successful in any way of also putting these modules that go in the windows of a full-fledged shower and composite toilet or whatever you want to call it, if they are anywhere near doing that and they can keep their price point under $30,000, Happy Campers will be out of business in 2 years after launch. Most of the guys that go to these independent shows that build maybe 25 or 30 campers a year, they'll be out of business. They'll be gone. And the main reason why is because if Honda is going to offer auto rates and their prime credit score starts at 640, while in our industry it starts at 740, no RV manufacturer will be safe in the teardrop space. You will see Forest River collapse, Clipper Viking. You'll see Coleman at Keystone stop building their little teardrop outdoor kitchen cheapie. 2 years after that launches, if they can keep their price at 30 grand or less, and they have their own finance company backing it, and it's being sold at Honda authorized retail locations, be over. Especially if Honda is the proprietor, has that IP on all those energy efficient appliances. It'll be over. It'll be done. And that is both a good and bad thing. It would be a good thing because it would open up. Let's say they did launch this trailer and it was successfully under 30 grand, and you could successfully get somebody a 7 or 8 year loan on it at 7% or 7.5%, and they're a 640 FICO score. Be over. You'd be done. I think the only way that companies like Happy Camper and I mention Happy Camper because they're a really good company and a really well-built product, but a lot of these small teardrop companies either need to band together and develop the technology, or the OEMs need to. Lippert, BAL, Moride. This is going to force energy efficiency, and it's going to force the hand of the major manufacturers to understand if they can't build a reliable, well-built RV for an affordable price, They're done. This is only the beginning. This is only the start. If what my prediction would be, Honda won't stop at this. If they're successful with it and they have a successful launch and it becomes popular, what stops them from developing a Honda Ridgeline motorhome? If they are successful, what's going to stop Toyota from doing that same thing? If they can build a Honda Ridgeline truck into a truck camper type of situation, an all-in-one RV truck camper truck all in one, and sell it for less than $70,000, the RV industry's toast. The motorhome industry's toast. Your camper, your Class B motorhome market will get flushed down the toilet. I don't, you know, and I didn't even know about this Honda thing, and I've been talking about this for about 5 months now. I don't think the teardrop community is over, because Triton Jared, I would tell you, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it would actually be a positive thing for the community, but a bad thing for the industry, because the teardrop industry is, you're going to still have the guys that are going to want to manufacture their own. You're still going to have the DIY guys. You're still going to have the custom build jobs. But those guys aren't big manufacturers that build hundreds and thousands of RVs. They build 25, 26 a year, custom order builds. There's a guy who builds, you know, your Jason Momoa back stuff that's like 5 or 10 grand is going to survive no problem. It's the guys that build the fancier type of Australian built camper that are going to suffer, because you're not going to be, and again, it's if Honda is successful at making that induction cooktop and the splitter AC and the electric heater and the electric water heater and the bathroom system energy efficient to run on one 200 amp hour lithium battery with solar and a 2000 watt Honda generator backup. If you're successful in managing that, I mean, you're done. If Honda develops the products and decides to keep that IP to themselves rather than licensing it for the first couple of years, you're done. If I was sitting in Jason Lippert's shoes right now, I would go, how much money can I pour into research and development and develop that technology first? How can I develop that technology Honda is trying to develop and get there before they do? That's what I would be wondering. Because then, you know, again, then at that point, you have to sell the good old boys club that they got to build smaller and more efficient trailers to satisfy that part of the community, which is a growing part of it. Your biggest section of the community doesn't need all that stuff. But if you have a guy who wants to go to a Cachuma Lake in Santa Barbara, and they can take a 2,000 watt generator and run the whole coach on a 2,000 watt generator instead of a 5,500 or 4,500 watt generator and a 1 lithium battery, I mean, you got to imagine that would cut the cost down of production and make not only the RV brand more profitable, but you would have to create another line to satisfy the lenders, but you create, Forest River EV Evolution travel trailer, built out of Oregon under the Cherokee label. Here's a trailer that's 21 foot, little slide out, walk around bed, splitter AC, electric furnace, electric induction cooktop, no propane in the coach, runs on one 200 amp hour lithium battery and a 2,000 watt generator with 400 watts of solar, and you can buy it for $29,900. Brand new. You got to imagine that Cherokee is still going to make the profit margin that they need to make. You can imagine the dealer is going to be able to make the profit margin they need to make. And you can imagine that the consumer is going to be happier because it's an RV loan, which means they don't have to take a 7-year loan. They can write off the interest still. So somebody needs to develop that technology before Honda gets to it, or you're going to lose manufacturers. You're going to lose a segment of the industry that is important. Is it all the industry? No, but it's one of the segments people want to shop and touch and feel at these smaller event shows. Like Costa Mesa, California has the off-road show every year. That off-road show, people don't go because they want to go see a 45-foot Super C. They want to see everything that is off-grid overland type so they can make a decision. Are they going to buy a traditional travel trailer, or are they going to buy one of these smaller little dinky little module things? And that show is humongous because you have so many independent small builders and small little guys that work out of one little garage with 2 or 3 employees that build to order. And you're going to lose a bunch of that. You're going to lose that community of events if you have Honda smack dab in the middle of it, dominating the product because they can build it for less money and they have the reliability in their name and in their brand image. And then on top of that, you don't need any propane and you don't need 24 batteries and 7,000 watts of solar to run the damn thing on a battery. So watch out for Honda. I mean, if they license the IP out and license the technology out, okay. Now the industry can share in the joys, but I don't see Honda doing that. I think Honda, if they're going to get in this RV game, at least for the first 10 years, they're going to stick a fire hose down everybody's throat and turn it on full blast. Like I said, I'd be shitting my pants. I'd be shitting my pants if I was a motorhome manufacturer. Especially if you build a Coachman Beyond or a Pleasureway van or a Winnebago Travato. I'd be crapping my pants right now because if they're successful at this, who knows what they're developing behind closed doors and keeping quiet. I mean, this is what I've been talking about, and it's going to happen faster than I thought, especially with a Japanese company coming in and going, we're going to shove a broomstick up your pie hole, and we're going to give you the pain, and no Vaseline included. Just saying. All right, moving on. So I want to read this email that I was sent by one of you guys. Let me get in here. Now, I want you, before I launch into this email, okay. Oh, wait, Bunny 7. 17 models and down are reliable. The new models are trash. Well, Bunny 7, that has nothing to do with the RV manufacturer. Actually, a lot of the newer stuff is actually really good. That's on the manufacturer of the chassis. And sometimes, I don't know, especially if it's a Mercedes, I'm not a big fan of the Mercedes Sprinter chassis. I never have been. Um, I think there's too much fake information about the miles per gallon you really get on it. And you know, see, I love the win. See, but then at the same time, I love the Winnebago View, and I like the Forest River. They used to call it the Forester MBS and the Sunseeker something, but maybe they still call it that. But it's a B plus, and I like those coaches. I didn't like the Wayfarer. The Wayfarer is a pile of junk. Tiffin's known for really good products. The Wayfarer was a pile of shit. Always will be. But you know, even Thor built a decent Class B plus. There are some Forest River stuff that's garbage. There's some Keystone stuff that's garbage. There's some Tiffin stuff that there are garbage products within umbrellas, but a lot of your Forest River products that are not garbage are actually pretty good. And I like the Sunseeker Forester brand. It's the only real Class C that they build. And the Mercedes is actually okay, but I just don't like the Mercedes motor and don't like the Mercedes setup. I prefer the Ford setup with the gas, but I don't know if I like the Godzilla stuff. I mean, that's my thing is like, okay, the Godzilla thing's been around a little while. Not too long though, but you know, it's like one of those things where, yeah, I'm just, yeah, G38, yeah. So it's like it's tough because a lot of like Coleman is trash. Coleman travel trailers are absolute garbage. You could go set them outside, light them on fire, and you wouldn't lose out on anything. But yet, there are people that only can afford $115, $120, $150 a month, and they can only tow 3,500 or 5,000 pounds. So, you know, it's like there's not a lot of used travel trailers that size that you can finance and get that low of a payment. So, you know, that's the reason why 10,000 17B Colemans sell a year. It's because they're cheap, they're cheaply made, they're light, and the payment's right. But you do get what you pay for, right? Okay, moving on. So I'm going to read this email because this email was interesting. So I got an email. Apparently, 3 websites have released their either top 25 or top 100 RV YouTubers or RV influencers. I'm going to read this email. This email is really sweet. It says, Dear HB, wondering why you're doing more live streams lately, but then I've started figuring out that you're doing a mix of everything, which is really cool, and I think it's actually giving you a broader appeal. So I actually looked on on 3 of my favorite websites to see if you finally have broken into the top 100. 3 websites, your name doesn't come up once. So I emailed one of the companies and asked why they have not considered you for the top 100. I got an interesting response. The response was simple. He is not an influencer, and his channel is not good enough to be mentioned on our site. We respectfully only consider those that are politically correct in their content. So first of all, thank you for being sweet, and thank you for fighting for me. I really appreciate it. I will never be on one of those lists. I'm not even mentioned. There are 5 websites that use my information and use my videos and do give me credit, but they will never. I was telling I was talking to a colleague over the phone tonight that I'm going to do a couple videos for, and I basically said that I'm not going to win any popularity contests. Not going to. So anybody on these top 100 influencer things, if you look at the top 10 are always the people that smile the biggest, tell you the best stories, tell you everything's sunshine and rainbows and wonderful. Everything that sponsors and people that pay for ads want to see to promote their products. I am not that guy. Okay. I just am not. I appreciate, because I know I'm going to get more emails about that, because apparently it was released in the last couple of days. So I know I'm going to get more emails and more direct messages. So I decided to get ahead of it and cover it. Do they make an RV with just a bed, closet, and bathroom? Because when camping, I'll grill outside. Yeah, actually, Forest River and Keystone do make one. Significant engineering challenges for developing more efficient, energy-thirsty accessories, especially AC. There are significant R&D efforts into battery technology, military. Oh yeah, Mr. Big Stuff. No, I know that, but apparently Honda's trying to develop its own. From what I got from the conversation, the Honda company is trying to develop its own energy-efficient appliances for the RV industry, for their actual RV. So very interesting. So Bunny 7, you can look at the 14R Coachman Clipper Viking travel trailer. It's called the 14R or the 14CR. It has a small little kitchenette, but mainly it's one bed, which is a dinette, and a bathroom, and it has one closet. Sunset Park makes a model as well. Forest River also makes the No Boundaries, and the No Boundaries just came out with a 16-footer that's a bed, theater seating, and a bathroom with 2 closets. And then Keystone makes the 13G or 13L, and that is a dinette that folds into a bed, bathroom with a tiny little kitchenette. I think Jayco makes one too. And I think Grand Design Transcend is going to build one as well. Somebody else is going to build one as well. Oh yeah, it's all subjective crap. I know. I really know all that, but it's just I know the more I've been doing this, and like I was telling the colleague that I was talking to over the phone, he owns a dealership. He used to own a couple, but he owns one now. And I was telling him that I'm never going to win any popularity contests. Just not going to. And he even said, you're not meant to. And he actually said, one of the things he said that really like made me smile was like, he goes, you are, he says, if you keep doing the way you're going, you're going to be a star in the industry. You're going to be a star on YouTube for the RV world, because people are going to come to you. He goes, you know, he said, and I had another dealer friend of mine tell me the other day, he goes, you know what's going to happen? He says they're going to go see some people that are getting pushed on YouTube for, you know, whatever, a certain brand or certain things like that. And he says, then they're going to come to you and see if what you say is the same thing or similar. He goes, you're going to see that you're going to get people. And I've noticed more people are watching on TV than they used to. So I don't know. We'll see what all happens. But I appreciate it. I really do. Okay. There's another email I want to cover. Let me get into it real quick. Dear John, apparently knows somebody who's known me for a while. We went to the Tampa RV show and walked the Brinkley display and Grand Design display, and I must say that we are not really that impressed. Setting aside everything you've said about leaks or frames, we actually walked into them and we don't understand really what you mean by no waste of space in a Brinkley. We felt like when we walked into a Palomino or we walked into a Keystone Cougar, that they actually had better floor space and better counter space and better storage than Brinkley and Grand Design. where were you coming from with that? Okay, so I have not been in a 2026 Cougar. I will partially agree with you about Palomino. Palomino has done a lot better, especially on the Columbus line with putting cabinets in spaces. But what I mean by that is when you have to understand where I'm coming from with that. When I used to sell Cruiser RV, Cruiser was probably one of my favorites to sell because it was cheap and it was very lightweight, but I'd always walk inside the units and I go, oh my God, if you just spent an extra 10 minutes and put a cabinet right here or maybe a shelf right there. Cabinet space and shelf space is so important. And where Brinkley is as far as where they think their price point is, which I've always felt like they're overpriced, but that's eye of beholder. At what they want to consider their price point, you have to consider that most of them are going to be dealing with the snowbird community, full-time RVers, or folks that are on their probably fifth or sixth RV, whether they're buying the travel trailer or the fifth wheel toy hauler. Generally, first-time buyers are not going to go spend $65,000 on a 26-foot travel trailer. First-time buyers are going to buy normally a Salem or a Wildwood or a Coleman or a Rockwood or a Flagstaff or something of that nature, okay? So you have to understand from my perspective, when I tell you that one of the best things that Brinkley does is they don't waste any space, it's because anytime I've seen anybody do a walkthrough video, or me personally have walked through a Brinkley, when I look at walls, I see storage most of the time. And not storage just to be there, but storage that makes sense. As if, and stop me if I'm wrong, but almost as if a woman actually designed the interiors of these fifth wheels. Okay. So, again, I haven't been in the Cougar lately, so I couldn't tell you. I could tell you if I sat a 2025 Cougar and a same size Brinkley, I could guarantee you the Brinkley has more storage, less waste of space. I've seen 2025 Cougars, so I can guarantee you that. Now, again, also I have the beholder too. So what I always say with fifth wheels, no matter what you buy, everybody builds the same floor plans. R&D in that area of the world is research and duplicate. So Brinkley copycatted Carriage on a lot of what they did and copycatted a little bit of Teton in what they did. So what they are doing is not original when it comes to the setup and design of all the storage, okay? It's not unique to the industry, but it's something we haven't seen in almost 20 years, okay? So they're bringing back something that should have never gone away. And credit to them for being bold in doing that. Because that is a bold move. It adds a lot of weight to the coach. You're now, production is not as fast. You got to now, the production of a fifth wheel or travel trailer lineup is more complicated than people want to make it because of EPA and a bunch of other stuff that I'll go into in another video at another time. All right. So, when you go walk into other units, sometimes it's also the sticker shock that hits you. Like you walk into a Grand Design Solitude and let's say you say $150,000 selling price, and then you go walk into a Palomino that's, let's say, $85,000. A lot of times when you start walking between both units, you start going, well, there really isn't that many differences as far as storage and floor space and things like that. When it comes to any of these fifth wheels, especially when you're spending stupid amounts of money, it's always the small little things you have to look at. It's problems that you don't see with the naked eye, and it's good stuff that is difficult to see with the naked eye unless someone points it out to you. And I used to say this about Heartland back in the day. So if you go and look at the guys who own Alliance, I call them the Brady Boys, right? So when they were big into Alliance, or not Alliance, Heartland, and they were building the ugliest piece of crap on God's green earth, the Bighorn and Landmark, it actually was a tank. It was built like a frickin' shit brick house. I mean, it was built tough and built strong, and it was built for full timers. It was just ugly as hell. You go, most wives, or even, husbands, used to walk into those fifth wheels and walk right out. You could not sell one at a show unless you actually pointed out why it's ugly inside, why they pretty much made the interior cheap but made the construction expensive. And then you were able to sell it. So sometimes the naked eye, doesn't pick up what's wrong and what's good, because especially when you're at a show, especially when you're at a dealer lot and you don't want to be talked, and you don't want to be helped, you just want to walk into everything, you start getting confused. So if your price point is a Palomino Columbus, then go with that. But I would definitely still say, and I know I give Brinkley shit, okay, but I would still take another look at Brinkley. If storage is important to you, okay, go back into the Brinkley and just give it another look. Give Solitude another look. Give Jayco another look. Give Keystone Cougar another look, and Palomino one more look. And actually, have someone at the dealership walk you through the small things, not the big things, not the big pitch, not the big BS about we do an automotive style seal, leaks. Anyway, get away from all that and have them point out the small stuff. The small stuff is what will separate a lot of these brands and separate what your decision making is. And you might find it might come down to Palomino Columbus versus Brinkley. It might come down to Keystone Cougar versus Jayco when it's all said and done. You might end up buying a Brinkley. You might end up buying a Solitude. But give it that one last once over and have someone point out those small things to you that are the small separators. And that's the best way to make a decision, especially if you're going to finance something that's $100,000+ or write a check for it. We just bought a 2026 Keystone Cougar 320 RD. That's a good floor plan. Oh, that's cool. All over the place with the layout and space. Okay. Well, that's a good product. The 320 is a good floor plan too. That's a good product. That's a very good product. I mean, nothing wrong with that at all. I own a Keystone Cougar myself. Good coach, well built, nice rig. I mean, are they perfect? No, but nice rig. That was kind of my point about it. And it's gonna be a couple videos I'm gonna release about trade-ins, because that's the other thing. A lot of people are so worried about their trade-in value. See, there's a guy called the Chevy guy. And he's probably, to me, the best car guy for cars. And people don't understand the RV industry is much different than the car industry. Okay? When I see someone come in and they want a trade value first before they go shop, you buy a lot of cars. That's not the way it works here. Because if I show you what a bank's going to lend on your used one, you'll never buy another RV. It's just the way it is. Trade-in values suck, because the trade-in value of a coach is based on what a lender is going to finance on it, which is completely different than the way they finance a used car. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about next week, and I'll give you a little preview to it, is when I go and buy, let's say, a used Ford Ranger truck, the dealership is allowed to add, or is actually encouraged to add, every option on that Ranger to increase the loan to value with a lender, whether it's a credit union or a regular prime bank or subprime bank. The RV industry does not allow you to do that. The RV industry is base wholesale book with no add-ons, and you get 10% of the value for any possible add-ons. So what that means is, let's just say, for example, that you added $20,000 of solar and batteries to a travel trailer that you bought for, let's say you bought a Brinkley. And the Brinkley travel trailer, let's say it came with suspension and came with solar, came with an inverter, came with all this fancy crap, and you decided to add on to that fancy stuff. And 2 years later, you're like, you need something bigger. Well, the bank doesn't care about the $30,000 or $20,000 in extras that you paid for, either through a factory order or add-ons after the fact. They don't care. They are going to finance the box and the wheels. That's the way it operates. So why it's so confusing is because JD Power, who is the lending book now instead of NADA, allows you as a consumer to add every option to see what a retail value of an RV is, whether it's a motorhome or fifth wheel or toy hauler or any of that stuff, right? But the lender doesn't let you do that. Now, are there some lenders that do that and do allow you to add on stuff? Yes, but they discount the percentage of what they're going to loan. I'll give you an example. USAA, now they've changed, but USAA used to allow me to add every option that was available on the coach, but they would only finance 70% of retail number. While I'll have a company like Marine One who will allow me to add every option, but only gives me 105% of that value all in. And most of the time, it's a similar number to what every other lender is going to give with no add-ons. So the number really doesn't, the amount financed on a recreational vehicle, no matter who the lender is around the same thing, whether you go through a credit union or you go through a regular bank. That's why at the Tampa RV show, I am not going to be surprised when 50% of the Highline fifth wheel deals don't go through and don't deliver, because not enough down payment, too upside in their trade, etc., etc. So one of the things I always say to folks, or I actually train sales guys. So when I used to train salespeople, and I used to train managers and finance managers, I used to tell them, when it comes to a customer's trade-in, they have to love the new one that they are buying more than their money and their trade. If they do not love that unit more than their money and their trade combined, you have no deal, because they don't have an idea of how it works. Because when you're trained to buy a car, you're trained to get your trade value first, walk away until someone gives you a bigger number. You're trained to do all this game playing because the car industry does a bunch of game playing. And it's funny because I watch it happen all the time at an RV lot. I'll be sitting there, give my best numbers out. They'll go drive away, come back 10 minutes later and say, why didn't you chase me out and try to give me more of a discount? Because I'm at the bottom. We're not here. We're not a car dealership who sells 200 cars a month. We sell 200 RVs a year. Here's the bottom line. This is the minimum profit margin I can make on this deal. And your trade-in, I'm sorry, is not worth what you think it is. So if you got to walk away and go somewhere else, hey, we understand. We'll sell it to somebody else. Somebody else will take your trade-in, or somebody will buy it. 9 times out of 10, they come back and they buy, because they're like, holy crap, his numbers are pretty spot on. Because I'm not stupid, but I digress. So when you're dealing with a trade-in, you should not deal with the trade-in first if you're going to negotiate an RV deal. You should not even talk about price. You should talk about budget. So if you got let's say you bought a $20,000 trailer 4 years ago and you're willing to step up to 40 grand on your next rig, that's what you tell them, like you're here to spend $40,000. And if they ask you what kind of payment, you always say about 400, because it's not like a car deal where you can play around with a bunch of freaking stupidity to make it $400 and raise the price of the vehicle. It doesn't work that way in the industry of ours. That's why I hate car guys. I hate car YouTubers, because they teach you guys how to buy a car, but don't realize how to teach you to buy an RV. And every time I try to teach you how to buy an RV, all I get are a bunch of rotten comments from people saying, oh, you're just a dealer. You're trying to maximize. No, I'm trying to teach people it's different, right? So if you're going to have a trade-in, your trade-in value is the least amount. So if I were going to draw out a Foursquare, everybody knows the dreaded Foursquare. So if I was going to draw out a Foursquare, okay, and let's say it was a $100,000 selling price, and I got a 2021 Wolf Pup trade, and I'm willing to go to like $800 a month. Okay, and let's say I know I owe 25 on the trade. I know I'm upside down. This is the wrong box to negotiate. You do not negotiate your trade value. In the RV industry, you do not negotiate your trade value at all. That is the wrong way to do it. That is the car business. The car business is different than RVs. Okay, you don't negotiate the trade. You don't negotiate the price first. You do negotiate the price, but that's secondary. You don't negotiate the payment. That's the third thing you negotiate. This you never negotiate. You never negotiate the trade. This is the box you negotiate right here. Anybody know what that box is? That box is cash down. That makes or breaks the deal no matter what. This box is all the negotiation that you need to start with. So when they hit you, forget all this, because this won't matter. If you can't get the cash down you need, let's say they tell you, oh yeah, well, we could do the 25 grand to make you happy because they're not going to discount the price, but we need $40,000 down to get the loan bought, and you don't have 40 cash, it doesn't matter what you're getting for your trade. This is the most important box in negotiating a deal when you have a trade-in. Once you get the dealership to agree on the cash down, and let's say that you agree to 12 grand, okay? Now, let's say that they agreed, okay, yeah, we can get you financed 12 grand down. Now you hit them at the price. Now you hit them for a discount up here. Because now that you know that the desk guy, and desk guys do the desk guy, unlike a car dealership, the desk guy is smarter than the finance guy. I'm one of the lucky few guys that understands the entire freaking process. No offense, you finance guys. Most of you guys are idiots. Okay? When it comes to this, you guys are excellent salespeople, excellent at your paperwork, excellent at getting your penetration, excellent at doing other things. You guys suck when it comes to structuring a deal. So that's why desk guys are generally former finance guys, and they learned the desk like I did. And if they know they can get it done with 12 grand down and your trade at 100 grand and 800 a month, now you go to the secondary negotiation, which is the price. You never talk about the trade ever. The trade, you're going to see it one time as a number. It's going to be a shitty low number. But if you've negotiated this and you've negotiated this properly, you won't care about this number anymore. These are the two numbers that are the most important. Then this is the final thing. Then this is a bonus. Then payment is a bonus. So let's say that you negotiate down where you go, well, I'll do it. And let's say they come back and they say they'll do it for 90 grand. So 90 grand, and let's say it's 700 a month is what they come back with, okay? So if they came back with 90,000 and you offer them, let's say 80, they come back at 90, you're happy with 90, it's somewhere in the middle, you're happy with the 12 grand, you're happy with the 700, now the third thing you go after is the payment. Now you go, well, okay, I'm happy with this box, I'm happy with this box, but can you get this down to 650 or 625 or whatever, okay? Then now you have the 3 boxes. Because here's the thing, when it's structuring a deal, I'm going to teach you how to do a cash deal too in a minute, okay? I'm going to teach you how to do a cash deal in a minute. But when you do the down payment first, and you're all happy there, and you become happy here, this is a bonus right here. This shit won't matter. It is what it's going to be. And it's going to suck. And you're going to hate it. Because if you don't... If you don't like this number, you're going to walk away anyway. But I'm going to tell you, when you've negotiated these 3 and you're not coming out with a lot the money out of pocket that they originally wanted, and you've got a discount on the price, and you've worked the payment right, if you work them in that order, down payment first, price second, payment third, this number, it won't bother you. It won't bother you as much. This is going to be a wholesale number. If you work it the other way, you're going to be screwed. You're never going to get out of it. Now, if you're doing a cash deal and you don't owe any money, let's say you owe the money. Let's say you own the trade free and clear. That's good, Christy. That's really good. So let's say you're a cash buyer. You own your trade outright. Okay. Okay. So let's go to 100,000 all a unit. Okay. Same 2021 Wolf Pup. Okay. You don't negotiate the price. You don't negotiate the trade. You do not negotiate either number. You negotiate one number and one number only. And that number is the cash difference. That's the only number. You don't negotiate the price. You don't negotiate the trade. You don't ask for a value. You don't ask for what's your best price. You don't ask anything of that nature. You start out your negotiation with, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see what the cash difference is. Even if you're going to finance it. Let's say you're going to finance it. Let's say you're not going to pay cash, but you own the trade free and clear. You still negotiate the cash difference. Work with one number. When you work with one number, it makes the process both easier for you and you don't have 20 back and forths. Because I always tell people, whenever I'm talking about making a deal with a consumer, if by the second time, if I come back a second time and we're nowhere near a deal, I'm just tossing you out of the dealership because we're both wasting each other's time. So the best way to make sure that there's only 2 or 3 passes is if you negotiate the cash difference price so you don't waste your time and you don't waste theirs. So here's what I would say. I'll be like, okay, let's say they came back and they said it was a out the door tax license, whole thing, an $85,000 cash difference. Okay. And you make an offer and say, okay, I don't want to do that. I was thinking more, let's say 70 grand. They're going to go back and they're going to go do their thing. Whatever they do, when that salesperson is in the office, if you are going to finance it, then you throw in to the sales guy, hey, I forgot to tell you, whatever the cash difference is, I'm going to finance it. Because if the desk guy hears you say that, you're going to get a better number here. You may not get 70 grand like you want, but this number now will go down further than what the guy was originally going to pencil, because he's like, oh, I'm going to make a little money on the rate and I'm going to make a little money on the trade. So now they're going to be willing to take less of a deal on the initial payment or the initial price and profit of the unit because they got 2 other profit points. And you just say, I don't care what the payment's going to be, but I just want to throw it out there that I am going to finance the balance. So whatever the cash difference is, if you can get to my 70 grand cash difference, I'm going to finance it. You might be sitting a little while longer than you normally would, because now they got to do some math in their head and kind of figure out how to make one more pass that makes sense. And there's probably going to be some conversations with another manager, like, what do you think? Things of that nature. But once that gets done, you're going to have a better deal if you work the deal that way. Because unlike the car business, there isn't payment packing like there is in the car business. There isn't an addendum of bullshit on the MSRP. Usually the most common things that dealers hit you for is prep and freight. Freight's all bullshit in my mind, unless the company actually transported themselves, because most companies add their freight charge already into their sticker price, except for a few, like Northwood doesn't, Outdoors doesn't, and a few others. But prep is normal in this industry. Okay, you're getting charged prep no matter what you do. It's just whether you see it on the contract or not. Okay, so cash difference, and that's how trade-ins really are done at the RV dealership level. Because a lot of people, if they can't come to your number or close to your number cash difference wise, you're going to sell your trade on your own. Okay. That's the difference, right? So when we talk about a cash difference price, cash difference, if they can't come close, you're going to sell your trade on your own anyway. Because no dealership's going to be anywhere close to your number, and shopping around is not going to help you get a bigger trade value, because everybody's going to be about the same with your trade. But if your cash difference price is pretty close, then it's a decision. Let's say they came back at 73 and you were originally at 70. Now it's a decision. Do you sell your trade for $3,000 more? Or do you not want to deal with the general public and just eat the $3,000? Or whatever that number is, right? You're not wasting your day, you're not wasting your time, you're not jacking yourself off, and you're not jacking the dealership off. Specifically more yourself. You're not wasting your damn precious time. You know, I understand why people do it in the car industry. The car industry is so screwed up in their head that, you know, I'll give you an example. The biggest, oh God, a couple of years ago, I was opening an RV dealership in Los Angeles County, okay? And COVID really screwed this up. But I was actually going to open up a fresh dealership, had all the product, had actual banks, which is rare, ready, set, ready to go. While that was happening, I sat and did finance at a Hyundai dealership that these partners that I was working for owned. They had a finance guy quit, so I walked in and said, I'll do finance. I do finance in RVs. Just teach me how to do stuff. So I would sit there, right, and they would do a car deal. And I remember Schumann and Vic. Oh my God, Schumann and Vic were hilarious. I loved them. They would sit there, and they were the desk guys, and they would get the deals bought for me because they just got the deals bought and done. And he'd go, so how long do you want them to sit around and stew while they do it? And I go, what are you talking about? Give me the damn folder. Let's go get them in the office. I'll print the paperwork while we're sitting there. People, I would go into the dealer or into the office within 5 minutes of them agreeing to the car deal and signing all the little stuff the salesperson had to do and all their stuff, and pull them right into my office, say, let's go do all the paperwork. Huh? They were like shocked. I'm not going to be here for like an hour and a half waiting. No, deal's bought at the bank. Let's go. And we actually, this is why I don't like car dealership mentalities, because we had, as a dealership, the biggest profit month ever in the history of the company's 25 years in business for all the dealerships. And these are low dollar cars. It's not like they're selling Cadillac and GMC trucks like the several other dealerships were doing, okay? This was basic cars and SUVs and common family stuff, right? Hyundai. And here they come in and go, hey guys, so this is what Hyundai offers on a lease. This is this, this is this, this is this, this is what it covers, this is what it doesn't cover, blah, 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 blah. And I go, and your payment goes from what they quoted you at 400 to 475 or whatever the payment was. This is the paperwork to sign that you don't want any of that stuff. You understand if anything goes wrong with the car, you're responsible for it. And this is the part where you sign whatever one you actually want. If you want one of the products or the plans, blah, 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 and all that. And I'd smile and say, all right, guys, I'm going to print the paperwork while you're deciding that. And I would say 7 times out of 10, somebody picked a product. Most of the time it was an extended warranty, or what they called a wrap. Sometimes they would get Gap. Sometimes they would get the theft protection little thing. But most of the time it was all, extended warranty. And the people were like in and out of the office. I had a timer. I'm 15 minutes. We ain't sitting here because I got probably 6 or 7 other people ready to sign. We ain't staying here till freaking midnight. And the desk guys, the sales guys loved it. And I'd be like, let's get them in and out. They bought a car. Let's get them home. While most car dealerships want you sitting around, we're going to wear them out until they actually buy everything in the thing. I'm like, fuck that. I only sell so much product anyway. Let them pick whatever product they want. And let's get them out of here. And we had the biggest profit month ever in the history of the company's 25-year history. So you don't have to wear people out. You could just go in and say, hey, congratulations. Hey, come on back. Let's go print the paperwork and get you guys out of here. Huh? Just the look on people's faces was classic. Like, what? I'm not going to be sitting around here for 2 hours waiting for paperwork to get printed? And they always A/B penciled everybody. It got to a point where they started seeing how I did things in the RV world, where I A/B penciled everybody. I'd give everybody the base payment, and I give them their payment with an extended warranty and payment with extended warranty and Gap. Circle one, sign it. Let's go to work. And most of the time the sales guys would go, hey guys, we just like to present this. That's how I always did it with sales guys. I always go, just go present it to them. Let the finance guy figure it out later. If they don't want the extended warranty payment, but make the finance guy work for it. Maybe he'll get them to buy it in there. Just have them sign one of them. Give them 3 options. So that way when they go into finance, they don't feel like they're getting bumped $50 or $100 in finance. Man, it's just ridiculous. It is. That's kind of how it was. That's how I've seen a lot of the car industry operate, and it sickens me sometimes. I'm like, what in the heck are you guys thinking? Are you guys insane? You're going to let somebody sit out there for an hour and a half and stew because you're trying to maximize the back end profit? Now, sometimes it's legit. I remember one day, towards the end of the month, we had 15 people waiting for me to contract them. But I went out and talked to every one of them. In between contracts, I would touch every customer and go, guys, you are 5th in line. I just did one. I'm doing another. You guys are 5th in line. Just be patient. I'll be right with you. I touched everybody after every contract because I know when you're busy and you're the only guy that's actually able to paper anybody, it could be frustrating when no one's communicating with you. So There were times where somebody did have to wait 2 hours or 2.5 hours, but most of the time they just drove off and came back. I remember one time they were like, "Oh my God, the customer's leaving." Yeah, they left their credit card. They already paid their down payment. They've already given me their insurance. They've already called their insurance company, had it faxed over. We're okay. They're going to go get lunch. They'll be back. They have to come back. If they want to back out of the car deal, they have to come back to get their refund. So, I mean, you still get to talk to them if they decide to back out because I got their money. So they still got to come back. So they're not going anywhere. They're coming back one way or the other. Would you rather have them sitting around here or go get some food and go get some rest and not have to sit around in a boring ass showroom? I loved working for Parkway Hyundai. That was so much fun. I miss those guys. I do. I miss those guys. I miss Schumann. I miss Vic. Oh my God, I miss those guys. We used to sit around inside that tower and just talk shit. It was so fun. And when COVID hit, man, I mean, COVID destroyed what I wanted to do. It really did. But it is what it is. You know, it's what it is. You know, so many good products left. So many people left the earth. Yeah. But anyway, that's all I have for this evening's edition. You guys have a great one, and we will see you soon. I will not be on tomorrow night because I have a bunch of shit I got to do before the show. So my next one I will be on is Friday night. So